Assalamu alaikum and good morning to all my dear students who are listening to me. I welcome you back to the class of social studies and I hope that you all are well and fine. So students, let's see which chapter which we are going to start or review today. So class, this is your lecture number 19, okay? And this is your teacher of social studies, Ms. Sunayera, right? This is your reinforcement class. As you know that soon our midterms are going to be conducted. So we started reviewing our chapters one by one. So as you are taking a revision test in the class, for upcoming week, I have given you the chapter Muslim Rule in South Asia. So today we are going to review our one of the chapter which we had done, that is Muslim Rule in South Asia. Okay, this chapter is of your history portion of your book. Okay, as we had learned we had learned chapter ancient South Asia previous week, and we have seen there the parts of history. Okay, this chapter also includes historical parts. Okay, historical information. But one thing we can notice here is the name of the chapter is Muslim Rule in South Asia. It means we are going to see that how many rulers were there of South Asia, but we would focus on Muslims. We would see that how many Muslim rulers were there in South Asia. Okay, so your chapter starts on page number 67. Okay, and the first topic in this chapter is Muhammad bin Qasim. Muhammad bin Qasim, we had learnt about him in detail. Let's have a quick review. Muhammad bin Qasim was a 17 years old Arab general who conquered Sindh in 712 AD. This is very important. Okay, you have to remember that Muhammad bin Qasim was only 17 years old and he was an Arab general who conquered Sindh in 712 AD. You have to memorize, you have to remember the date or the year. Okay, it is generally believed that some pirates had attacked the Arab ships on their way back from Serendip. I hope everybody knows that what is Serendip. Okay, we had learnt about it. Serendip is an ancient name of Sri Lanka, right? So what happened? Uh, some pirates had attacked the Arab ships on their way back from Serendip, and when Raja Dahir, the ruler of Sindh, he was the ruler of Sindh. Raja Dahir was a ruler of Sindh. He failed to punish the pirates, right? Arab rulers decided to take matters in their own hands then. The first important city that failed to Muhammad bin Qasim was Debail, possibly the same city that was later called Bambor. Do you know where is the Bambor? Bambor is near Karachi. Maybe you have heard this word before. Okay, so the first topic from this chapter is Muhammad bin Qasim. Muhammad bin Qasim was an Arab general, and he was only 17 years old. Arab general who conquered Sindh. When did he conquer the Sindh? He conquered Sindh in 712 AD, right? This is important from this paragraph and from uh, this page. Plus, you can see one more thing, that Muhammad bin Qasim was a kind personality. He allowed different religious people to follow their worships. Okay, Hindus and Buddhists were allowed to keep in their temples. They were not forced to participate in the wars, and Arab government took responsibility for their protection if they paid a small tax, which was called jizya that time. Okay, nowadays we use the word tax that we pay to our government. That was previously called as jizya. Okay, after Muhammad bin Qasim, we learnt about Mahmud of Ghazna. Mahmud of Ghazna, again we are going to see some important things as it is your reinforcement class. So Mahmud of Ghazna, who ruled over Afghanistan from 1000 AD to 1030 AD. Okay, it means we can see here one thing, that he ruled over Afghanistan for 30 years. Okay, he was one of the strongest ruler who came the power after the Arab Empire broke up. What are the things which we have to remember about Mahmud of Ghazna? Mahmud of Ghazna was a ruler of Afghanistan, number one. Okay, and he invaded India. He invaded India not only once, not only twice, he invaded India 17 times in his life. How many times? 17 times. Okay, this is very important for you. During his 16th invasion, he destroyed the temple of Somnath. That was 1026 AD when he destroyed the temple of Somnath, which is present near present day Mumbai. Okay, so what are the things which we have to remember about Mahmud of Ghazna? Mahmud of Ghazna was a ruler of Afghanistan, and he ruled over Afghanistan for 30 years, and he invaded India 17 times in his life, and during his 16th invasion, he destroyed one of the main temple of Hindus, that is known as Temple of Somnath. Okay? Yes. Afterwards, okay, beta. So afterwards, there is a knowledge about Delhi Sultanate. The Delhi Sultanate is indicating the rulers who ruled near Delhi, and we have to see that how many dynasties are there. First of all, everybody must know that what does dynasty means. Dynasty is the word that indicates family of kings. Okay, that indicates family of kings. So if we talk about Delhi Sultanate, that started in 1193 AD, Shahabuddin Muhammad Ghori, whose family was ruling Afghanistan after throwing out the Ghaznavids, defeated the local rulers of South Asia. Okay, now here in front of you, there are five different dynasties, in which number one is slave dynasty. We would discuss that why it is known as slave dynasty. Okay, so let's discuss them one by one. What is the dynasty? Dynasty is the word that indicates family of kings. And if we talk about Delhi Sultanate, there were few of the dynasties, in which the slave dynasty is included, the Khaljis, the Tughlaqs, invasion of Tamerlane, the Sayyid and Lodi dynasties. So let's discuss them one by one. First of all, the first dynasty was the slave dynasty. We are talking about Delhi Sultanate, right? The first dynasty who established Muslim rule over Delhi in 1206 AD included Qutbuddin Aibak, Iltutmish. Iltutmish is a name of a person who is also known as Altamish, right? So normally we call him as Altamish, but in literature his name is Iltutmish, right? So Qutbuddin Aibak, Iltutmish, Balban, etc. These are included in slave dynasty. These kings are known as the slaves dynasty. But basically you can see here one thing, that dynasty, the slave dynasty includes many of the people, in which I had written only three names in front of you. Why? And why it is called a slave dynasty? We are going to talk about it. See, these three persons were occupied. Okay, they were in slavery. They got freed from their slavery. That is why Qutbuddin Aibak, Altamish, and Balban, they were slaves, right? When they got free, then they started their sultanate, and that is why it is called as the slave dynasty, because three of the main person from this dynasty were the slaves. Afterwards, the Khaljis are there. Jalaluddin and Alauddin were two important rulers of Khalji dynasty. Alauddin Khilji was illiterate and ascended the throne by assassinating Jalaluddin. Okay, Jalaluddin was a clever kind of personality, and Alauddin was illiterate, so he ascended the Jalaluddin. Okay, so the main rulers from Khalji dynasty are Jalaluddin and Alauddin. Afterwards, the Tughlaqs. The most famous rulers of Tughlaq dynasty was the Mahmud Shah Tughlaq, who introduced new ideas in government. He introduced new ideas in government, but people were not happy with him. I'm talking about Mahmud Shah Tughlaq, Muhammad Shah Tughlaq, right? People were not happy, and that is why he's also known as educated fool. He was educated, but people were not happy, and he could not be understood by the common people. So people started calling them as educated fool. Okay, so we have to remember that the most famous rulers of Tughlaq dynasty was the Muhammad Shah Tughlaq, and he introduced new ideas in the government. Invasion of Tamerlane. Tamerlane is a word which we are using for a person whose name is normally known as Amir Temur. Okay, if you Google the history, you will write Amir Temur, you will come to know that he was known as Tamerlane. Okay, so Tamerlane was a ruler of Central Asia who invaded Turkey, Iran, Middle East, and Egypt in 17th century AD. He was also known as Scourge of Asia. Okay, so the common name which we use for Tamerlane is Amir Temur, and he was a ruler of Central Asia who invaded Turkey, Iran, Middle East, and Egypt in which century? 17th century. The next thing, the Sayyid and Lodhi dynasty. Sayyid and Lodhis are, you know that we know them as a caste. Okay, so the people who were Lodhi and Sayyid, they also ruled over South Asia, and their dynasty is known as the Sayyid and Lodhi dynasty. After Delhi dynasties, another dynasty called the Sayyids came to power and ruled for a while. They could not rule for a long time. After that, an Afghan ruler, Behlul Lodi, established a new dynasty, right? His successor, Sikandar Lodi, tried to regain the power of Delhi. Okay, so I connected the slides of Mughals here, but something is missing here. The Mughals. You had been taught very well about Mughals, and we know that how many Muslim Mughals were there? There were seven Muslim Mughals, right? And they started from Mughal Emperor Babur, and the last Mughal Emperor was Bahadur Shah Zafar, right? But when we talk about the great Mughals, when we talk about the great Mughals, so we include only six Mughal kings. Okay, why? Because if we see the last Mughal who was Bahadur Shah Zafar, he was defeated by British, so we do not include him in great Mughals. So if we talk about the Mughals, Mughal period is sometimes called the golden period in the history of South Asia. They were great rulers and very often very sentimental and emotional people they were. The sultans of Delhi had kept a distance from local people, but the Mughals adopted South Asia as their homeland, and the local rulers, including Hindus, loved them passionately. So the first Mughal was Babur and the last Mughal was Bahadur Shah Zafar. But if we talk about the great Mughals, so the last great Mughal was Aurangzeb, who is also known as Alamgir, right? So what kind of things we have to remember for them? We have to remember their names in proper sequence, that the first Mughal was Babur and the second Mughal was Humayun, the third was Akbar. Likewise, we should remember the particular sequence of them, right? So if we talk about the later Mughals, the Mughal emperor who came after Aurangzeb were often very weak. That includes Bahadur Shah Zafar as well. Marathas provinces became independent, and the Marathas also started invading Delhi. There were a few of the foreign invaders, and they invaded many of the many of the areas of South Asia. So foreign invaders are in front of you, such as Nader Shah and Ahmad Shah Abdali, and British trader. They all grabbed pieces of Mughal Empire, means the piece of land which were ruled by Mughal emperors. Now they were ruled by different foreign invaders, including Nader Shah and Ahmad Shah Abdali, plus British traders, right? Because we know that Bahadur Shah Zafar was defeated by British, so of course they grabbed the pieces where Mughals used to rule. So why the Mughal Empire ended? Weaknesses forced the Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar to accept the British to control over South Asia in 1803 AD. Bahadur Shah Zafar became involved in the War of Independence against the British, and as the result, they sent him to Rangoon as a prisoner. Right? So this is how the Mughal Empire was ended. Okay. The last topic of your chapter, Muslim rule in South Asia, is Sufism. Sufism, we had learned about it in the class as well. We discussed it in previous classes, right? So we are going to highlight only important points of Sufism. Sufism is an approach to Islam. It's an approach in Islam that developed around 8th century. Okay, that developed around 8th century AD. Sufis were the people who believed in Sufism, right? So, Sufism, we can say that it's a kind of approach, and the people who choose to approach Islam this way were called as Sufis. So, Sufis believed in love and peace. They did not participate in wars and stayed away from the courts of kings, right? I told you many of the things about Sufism, that they were well-known personalities of that time, and even they are remembered today as well. Okay, so if any king wanted to meet any of the Sufi, so king had to go to the Sufi, right? Because Sufis were not interested in the people, they were not interested in wars, they always stayed away from the courts of kings, and they did not participate in any social activity, and they did not meet any of the person uselessly. If people or even kings wanted to meet them, they had to go. So Sufis became very popular among people of all religions in South Asia, and many non-Muslims converted themselves to Muslims. Why? Because they were inspired by Sufi saints. Who are the Sufi saints? Sufi saints are the person Sufi saints are the person who believed in Sufism, right? So Sufis became very popular among the people of all religion in South Asia, and many non-Muslims converted to Islam through saints of South Asia. Now here comes some of the names of Sufis in front of you, okay? Saints of South Asia. These all are the Sufi saints from South Asia, and it includes Data Ganj Baksh, Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti, Kutubuddin Bakhtiyar Kaki, Baba Farid Shakar Ganj, Nizamuddin Aulia, right? They all were the Sufi saints. There were some of the regional poets, okay? Many of the poets of the regional languages of South Asia were also great Sufis, and they include Bulle Shah, Rahman Baba, Shah Abdul Latif Bhai, and Amir Khusro. Shah Abdul Latif Bhai is very popular and everybody knows about him. So they were regional poets plus Sufi saints as well, right? They used to write their poetry for the sake of Islam, and they wrote many of the kind of Sufi Sufi poetry they used to do. Here comes some of the tombs or shrines of different Sufis in front of you. Okay, so let's have a quick review. In this chapter, we had learned about many of the Muslim rulers who ruled over South Asia, from Muhammad bin Qasim to the Mughals, right? So should we start review now? Should we start the question answer? Yes, beta, ask the question. You can ask the question. No, 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 beta, there is no particular reason for this. Okay, there is no particular reasons. Okay, let's start a review. You, Sarah, I'm going to answer you. Just wait, beta. So, beta, the week, the upcoming week, your test would be taken from chapter Muslim rule in South Asia, and I hope you will get prepared for it. Okay. So thank you so much. Here we are going to wind up our class.